Let's look at how we create containers. A container is an object that you can place other objects on top of that are in it. And if it's if it fits the parameters, it'll stay and you can make a reward sound. If it doesn't fit the parameters, it'll bounce back. So right here, I just made some shapes on here. And just keep in mind, when you make containers, it can be anything. It can be pictures, it can be text, it can be other objects. You can make all sorts of deals. You can get really creative with containers. I just have shapes here because it's easiest to show how to create the container restrictions or the rules for it. But when you're creating these containers, you can use whatever you want. Right here I just have these red squares, and I just want to show you that if it's not a red square, it's going to bounce out. See, if you try to drop it there, it bounces off. And if it is a red square matches, it'll put a little sound in there. Hear that little cha-ching? So that means it matches. So I could go around and my students could come up and start placing things on here, and they work, and if they put the wrong one, it bounces back out. And I've seen this used as simple as with this or alphabet sounds. A teacher had boxes or different containers on the screen, and the students had to match the short vowel sound to the box that matched that, or a picture, things like that, to the complex, where I've seen algebra teachers and geometry teachers use math equations and shapes, and then they have formulas on the board, and the formula matches that solution or something, or that graphing of it. It would stay on the picture. If it didn't, it would bounce back out. So you can go from the simplistic to the really complex with containers. It's just kind of where you want to be creative at with it. So let's just flip this next page and let's see how I created it. Right now I have nothing, there's no rules on this page. And there's two steps you got to do this. First, we need to name our container or give it its rules, and then all the other objects on the page, we need to name them so if they apply to this rule or not. So let's start with what our container is. That's this big box in the center. Once I click on it, I have my parameters around. I'm going to go over to my property browser here. Go to my browser. I'm going to lock this down so we can see it. Remember in our other videos, the sliders and things, we used the property browser. We're going back there again because we're setting a rule up for this container, this page. As you look through all these things down here, the one that says containers, the one we're going to deal with. Right now it contains nothing. There's a couple different ways we can do this, but the easiest way I think to do it is just go down and click specific or keyword right there. See where it says keyword? We're going to select keywords. So then we're going to name these objects, and if that name fits this container, it'll stay. If it doesn't fit, it goes away. So we have keywords, and once we do that, we need to say what keywords will it contain. So contain words. See the two little dots? We're going to click on that. We're going to say any object named A will stay. Just click OK, because I'm going to name these guys A, and that way when they stay there, they'll stay in the box. We need to be contained completely or must touch center to match. You can have a couple of things. I just say contain completely. And then the last one right there, we can do a sound. You don't have to, but it's kind of fun to do a sound. So I'm just going to put true in the sound, and I'm going to go search for the sounds. I have in the Tuesday night folder in the O drive, there's a sounds folder that just has a few sounds in there. If you want to use those, you can. Any kind of audio sound you can use. Let's put a cow sound on this one. Click open. So now whenever one that matches this sticks, it'll make a sound, and then if not contained, we want it to bounce back, so return to its original spot. And I'm going to put true, and what that means is when I drop this one here on it, if it doesn't match, it's going to bounce right back to where it was before. So we've done the first part. We've gave the container all its parameters. We've said if it has a matching keyword, it'll stay. We said the keyword is A. We said it's got to be completely contained, which means it has to go all the way inside of the shape. We've said true to a sound, and we've also said true that it'll bounce back if it's not contained. That's the first step. Now we need to name the object. Let's look at how we name the objects now they're going to be contained. Right now, as we look at this one, it doesn't have a name at this moment, and we're going to go name it, or give it a keyword name, I should say more specifically. So when it hovers over the top of this, where I drop it in here, it'll stay because it's matching. So as we look right here in our browser, we're back to our property browser. Instead of being at the bottom where containers are, when we're naming the objects that are going to go in the container, we need to go up and identify them first. You'll notice on this four little set right here, we have name, and it has a shape name. Don't change that. That's not the name we're talking about. We're talking about its keyword. So we're going to click on the dots right here and give it a keyword. If you remember, our container was A, so we got to call our object A. You could give these objects more than one keyword. So if you had a couple different containers up here, it could go on this one over here or this one over here. You could have it match in a couple different containers. The same with containers. You can give them multiple keywords, so you could have different objects that will stay with that container. So it's not just one-to-one on those. Once we named the object, we need to go back down to containers and do one last step and see where it says return if not contained. We need to change that to true. So now we've done two things with our objects. We've given them a keyword so they'll fit, and then we've also went down and said true to return if it does not fit. So we have that rule set in place with that. Now an object that doesn't fit the rule, we have to give it a keyword. So let's go back and we're going to click on these blue dots right here. Well, it doesn't fit in the red square, so we're going to go back over to our browser, and where it says identification, we're going to give it a keyword of, let's say, B. That way it doesn't match. And then we also need to go down, like we did before, in the container of our object and say true. So in other words, when it doesn't match, it'll bounce out. So now let's look. This red square should stay and make a sound. There it is. How could you miss that? And this blue dot should bounce back. And there it goes. So that's just the rules of the object right there that put in place. So to finish with this, there's two things you have to do. We have to first name our container and give the rules for it. And the second, name the objects or give keywords to the objects. And then give the rule to both of them as true on bounce back. So that's how you do container really quick.